Greetings, my lords and ladies, and welcome to Quickthot. I'm your host, Quicerys Quickthot, and I'm glad to have you. Before we get into the video, I'd like to give a shout out to all the new lords and ladies who subscribe to the channel and showing love to the content. I appreciate you, I thank you, and I welcome you along to the team. But to show my gratitude and my love, we have the Dragon Cam at the bottom, so you may see your comment or your subscription notification pop up there, just to show some love to you guys. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's hop into today's Green Council meeting. So on today's council meeting, we're going to be talking about one of the biggest lies and facades and propaganda-filled tales that a Team Black supporter would have you believe. And that is that somehow they win the bloody dance of the dragons. Somehow they win this war. Yeah, you can't make this up. Embrace yourself, guys, for the influx of comments that says winning is subjective. No, winning is winning and losing is losing. Because when you play the Game of Thrones,
you win or you die. There is no middle ground.
A war, like any other unpleasant event, can be divided into three categories: the cause, the unpleasant event itself, and the aftermath. The before, the present, and the after. Okay? So we're not going to hop into the before as much, as we've all read the books and we've all seen season 1. They gave us a pretty good depiction of how this bloody dance, how this bloody war starts, right? What we're going to be talking about is the unpleasant events itself and the aftermath. Not really into detail, but just me making my argument in the sake of making my argument, right? So the present or the unpleasant event can be seen as the disagreement, right? The disagreement of who's gonna rule the 7 kingdoms, who's gonna sit on the Iron Throne. The rightful ruler by set precedent and tradition, Aegon II, or his half-sister, the Princess Rhaenyra. That was the disagreement. After the disagreement is settled or one of the competitors die, that unpleasant event is over. The moment Rhaenyra Targaryen became a ghost, expired, non-existent, vanished, whichever word you prefer best, it was decided. Aegon II Targaryen is the rightful ruler of the 6 kingdoms, because Dorne is not included right now. His competitor, his rival, his opponent is non-existent. She's a ghost. She's non-existent. It has been decided who the true ruler of the kingdoms really is. The disagreement has been settled because there's no one else to challenge said opponent, right? Done. Now, what all the blacks are thinking about is the aftermath. Aftermath literally means the consequences or after effects of a significant what? Unpleasant event. The unpleasant event is the disagreement of who's gonna sit the Iron Throne, Aegon or Rhaenyra, right? The unpleasant event can also be seen as the events or the battles that are fought while both opponents are still alive and well. As soon as Sunfire had his great dinner of Miss Rhaenyra Targaryen, it was over. The unpleasant event was done, and then we move into the phase what? Let's say it together, guys. The aftermath. Kragan Stark is not challenging Aegon to put himself on the throne. That's the aftermath. Aegon losing his last Baratheon garrison is the aftermath. Aegon being poisoned by Corlys or Larys, that's the aftermath. Okay? But Rhaenyra's forces still fought on, and so did Hitler's. Right? Like, imagine if history said that Hitler won the war because the Nazis still fought on while Hitler was peacefully in his freaking grave. Like, imagine the absurdity, right? So take an example we all love, boxing, something basic that we can all understand and get. So you have 2 professional boxers who happen to be brothers fighting each other. Boxer A, who has no kids, and Boxer B, who does have a kid. Boxer B and Boxer A are going at it, throwing blows at each other. Boxer A knocks Boxer B out. Boxer B immediately dies from his injuries. Ding, 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 ding. The ref puts up Boxer A's hands. Hey, we have a winner. But before Boxer A can even get out of the ring, he collapses of his injuries. Pop, bam, dead. And everything Boxer A owns goes to Boxer B's son, closest family member, because he didn't have any kids, or they're all dead. Boxer B's fans goes up crazy. Hey, we won the match. We won the boxing match. Sounds crazy, right? Yeah, it's supposed to sound crazy because you can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up. Watch the Team Blackers just so happily cling on to the firstborn legitimate male inheritance now. Watch the Team Blackers just so happily love and caress tradition of the firstborn son inheritance now. Watch them love male primogeniture now, because that's the only thing they could cling on to push this false narrative that the blacks somehow won the war. It's called tradition. This is nothing new, right? These are the first signs of desperation. These are the first signs of being naive. Like, literally, guys, watch them just hug the Green's claim of male primogeniture over eldest sisters and bastards. So nice, because the only thing they have now is blood, which Aegon III is Aegon II's blood too. That's his freaking nephew. So, I mean, and that's another thing. These people are crazy. They're like, oh, Rhaenyra's son sits the throne. Yes, not only because that's the claim that the Greens were fighting for, like I just stated, but that's how the line of succession works. And that's how it has worked for centuries and generations. Same centuries and generations you guys were trying to change and dismantle. But now you want to cling on to and say somehow that same claim is the reason you won the war? It doesn't make sense. It's delusional. It's literally like the craziest logic that the black supporters have, y'all. Literally, they're confusing inheritancy, male inheritancy, mind you, with somehow someone won a war. Literally, because Rhaenyra's son, Aegon III, sat this throne after his uncle, Aegon II, somehow Rhaenyra won the Dance of the Dragons. You can't make this up, guys. Literally, that's like saying Mary Queen of Scots won something because her son James sat the throne after her cousin Elizabeth I because she didn't have any sons or any heirs. What? That's what it's called. That's what inheritance is. What are we talking about? Like, what are we discussing here? And literally, if we're also going by that knowledge, let's just keep in mind that no monarch's line ever continued then in the history of the world, ever fully continued. Because a line never fully continues through a son or a daughter. It always goes through a cousin or uncle or aunt or niece or nephew. Always. Like, this is not something new here, right? Like, a gay son's always gonna come, a woman that doesn't want kids or can't have kids, someone's gonna die in battle, you know what I mean? Like, these situations always happen. So if you think every monarch in the history of the world's line always passed through a son or a daughter, and that means that someone had lost something or another, guys, it's still in the family. That's what inheritancy is, right? Let's stop confusing victory with inheritancy here, okay? Because please, my lords and ladies, please correct me if I'm wrong. Because, you know, I am drinking beer right now. I am geeked up. I just got off of Twitter and saw this discussion, so I am a little rowdy right now. So please correct me if I'm wrong. And plus, I've only read the books twice on my third read, so not as many times as the other, you know, crazy, obsessed Song of Ice and Fire and Blood fans. But please correct me if I'm wrong when I say the blacks were fighting for a Rhaenyra's custom. Right? The blacks were fighting for eldest sisters and what? Let's say it together. Bastards. A Rhaenyra's custom. Very equal primogeniture, right? You guys weren't fighting for the already set law and precedent of the end-all law of firstborn legitimate male inheritancy. And hey, listen, that's completely fine, but let's stand on it here. Let's stand on your claim. Right? Let's stand on what you guys actually fought for, and most importantly, let's not confuse tradition of inheritancy with victory. Those two are not the same thing, so you guys didn't put Aegon III there. We did. The Greens claim did, right? Of male primogeniture, firstborn legitimate son inheritancy, and tradition. Nothing changed. This is nothing new. It's not rocket science. Or are you guys suffering for some type of amnesia or dementia now? Right? This shit isn't necessarily unique, right? Like, this is just tradition and precedent. This is how this works, right? Like, the same thing happened between Rhaenys and Viserys. This isn't a new thing here. And also, we're not saying that women can't inherit. In fact, end-all law does not state that women cannot inherit. It just states that a daughter, eldest daughter, or youngest will not inherit over her firstborn legitimate brother, the king or queen's firstborn legitimate son. Right? So that's what it states. That's literally end-all law. So no one's saying that women can inherit. It's literally just saying wait your turn and it will get to you. As you will see, it did in real world history with plenty of monarchs. Because let's be clear, if you guys really respected your usurper queen's wishes and her claim, you guys wouldn't place Aegon III on the throne, a legitimate male heir. You guys wouldn't still uphold male primogeniture. Our claim. You guys would uphold your claim. You guys would place who on the throne? Let's say it together. Rhaenyra Targaryen. Rhaenyra Targaryen should sit the throne if you guys so really wanted to fight for eldest sisters, right? But you didn't. If it comes to Rhaenyra's customs or equal primogeniture, Rhaenyra Targaryen does have the best claim. The claim you guys claimed, no pun intended, that you were fighting for, but obviously you weren't. when Aegon III, a legitimate male heir, sat the throne after his uncle, another legitimate male heir, and that's all that followed, okay? Baela Targaryen should have sat the throne if you guys really wanted to support Rhaenyra's cause. Baela Targaryen was the eldest daughter of Daemon Targaryen, the prince consort or king consort, however you want to define it, the stepdaughter of your usurper queen, Rhaenyra Targaryen, and the oldest living descendant of the previous king, Viserys Targaryen. That's a strong claim. If that's not strong for equal primogeniture, I don't know what is. But you guys didn't uphold that. And before you guys discredit your usurper queen even more and her bastard sons by saying, oh, Baela Targaryen wasn't Rhaenyra's real daughter, it wasn't her rightful daughter, nor was Jacaerys, Lucerys, or Joffrey of Lane of Velaryons the rightful king consort or prince consort. But that didn't stop you guys from trying to place them on the throne, now did it? Exactly. Baela Targaryen has a stronger claim when it comes to equal primogeniture than those bastards ever could. You guys could have upheld that claim, but you didn't, right? After Aegon II was poisoned by either Corlys Velaryon or Larys Strong, Aegon III was placed. That's how succession works. Another legitimate male heir. They didn't go out and search for one of his bastards and flea bottom. Now, did they? That didn't happen. They followed tradition and set precedent that already had centuries of long standings and good examples that, hey, this formula works, right? Hey, and listen, I'm not saying that that formula doesn't work, right? Because we know that formula does work in Dorne. In the Principality of Dorne, there's prime examples of regnant rulers in Dorne who did an amazing job, but guess what? That's their tradition. That's their Rhaenyra's customs, right? The upper six kingdoms don't follow a Rhaenyra's custom. They go more of the Andals, right? Or the First Men, which both were very heavily influenced by male primogeniture. Now, Rhaenyra's customs in Dorne is very equal primogeniture. And now, if we were talking about Dorne right now, you best goddamn believe you would see me arguing for their traditions as well of equal primogeniture, right? Like, I will be arguing that as well because I'm just a guy of tradition. So don't get in my comments to call me a patriarchal bastard or misogynistic, all that freaking bullshit, right? That you guys just throw at people because they have different opinions than you, right? But what's not an opinion and what is a fact is, number one, we know the unpleasant event Rhaenyra Targaryen lost. That's the war. She was dead. A ghost can't fight from their grave. She lost. Number two, her claim loss of eldest daughters and bastards, because guess who sat the throne? Aegon III, another legitimate male heir, male primogeniture, tradition followed, right? So the last thing that the blacks have is bloodline. It's Rhaenyra's son. Yeah, the same son who sat the throne thanks to the Greens of male primogeniture, because Aegon's sons died. This isn't rocket science. This is tradition, guys. It's called tradition, right? It's called the male line of inheritance, right? Like, this is nothing new. Let's not think too hard about it. But this is literally what George R. Martin wanted, guys. Like, he writes this to have people delusional like this. This is based off of time in real history called the Anarchy, where the Empress Matilda, her supporters did the same thing.
To be queen, and she fought to be queen for the whole of her life. She never officially became the crowned Queen of England. Instead, she was proclaimed Lady of the English, and some would even say, despite all of this, that she still won over Stephen, for it was her son who went on to rule her country and began the reign of the Plantagenets. So
as we see, Empress Matilda's supporters, they thought the same thing. They thought she won simply because male primogeniture continued, and Henry II sat the throne after Stephen of Blois, her cousin. But that's just not how it works, my lady. That's not how it works, okay? I'm sorry to inform you. But yeah, you know, people are gonna be delusional. Just imagine if every king in history said, oh, I won a war because I inherited from my nephew or my uncle or my brother, you know? No. This is how this works, brother. I think that's literally all I got. Oh, and the last thing. After something works and after someone does rightfully take a throne, for example, a woman ruler, more examples follow. Rhaenyra lost because no example followed. Just like in real world history, right? After Matilda lost, a woman didn't sit the throne there yet. Her son did, Henry II. Mary I is a prime example of that. A princess who rightfully waited her turn and it paid off for her, right? Mary Tudor, Mary I, Bloody Mary, if you're asking the Protestants, you know, if you're asking the Protestant historians about her, Bloody Mary came to the throne at age of 37, y'all. Like, 37, right? Because her brother, Edward VI, died. That was the only legitimate male heir that Henry VIII had. So it goes to the daughter. So we're not excluding daughters here, right? It will get to you eventually. Like, trust me, that's how the line of succession works, even when male primogeniture is upheld. And after Mary I, more examples followed. After Mary I came her sister, Elizabeth I, then Queen Anne, and then Victoria, and then Elizabeth II. So what's that? What, 5 regnant queens of England? Like, that's undisputable. Those are all official queens of England. But Rhaenyra Targaryen, as well as the Empress Matilda, were not official. They lost, unfortunately. But if clinging on to male primogeniture and tradition means that the blacks can push their false propaganda that somehow they won the bloody dance of the dragons, hey, I'm all happy for it, guys, because I guess we were fighting for the same thing the whole time, right? Well, my lords and ladies, we've been ranting about this for long enough, and the hour's getting late. As well as you all must get back to your families. But for the night is dark and full of terror, we must all look out for one another. My lords and ladies, this Green Council meeting is officially adjourned. I am your lord, Quicerys, of House Quickthot, and you all have a good night. I'll see you on the next one.